the partner visa subclass 820. So the benefits of this is that while you're in Australia and you hold this visa, you can work and live in the country. So you don't have any work restrictions. You can live here as indefinitely until your visa changes to become a permanent resident. And you also can travel in and out on your 820 visa while this is in place. One of the main benefits that a lot of people are interested in is that you're able to access Medicare, which is our public health system. So on lodging your subclass 820 visa, you can immediately go and enroll for a Medicare card, which allows you to go to the doctor, to hospital, and so forth, and not have to pay exorbitant fees to do that.
Tamara, just to clarify, so when you lodge partner visa subclass 820, does it automatically issue you a bridging visa that gives you access to Medicare, or?
Sure. So the bridging visa is separate to the actual application. So if you think of a bridging visa, it's a bridge between one visa to another. So example would be is you've come in on your visitor's visa, and while you're here with your partner, you decide to submit your application for a subclass 820. So at the time you lodge your subclass 820, you will be issued with a acknowledgement notice, and which says that you've applied for this particular visa. You'll also be given a bridging visa approval grant. And so the bridging visa will come into effect once your visitor's visa stops, and that's what keeps you lawful in the country and bridges you between one visa to the next. Your Medicare is a result of you applying for the subclass 820, subclass 801 partner visa stream visa. So that is solely on the fact that you've applied for the visa and not necessarily linked to your bridging visa so much. So the main requirements to apply for this visa is that you must be in a genuine and continuing relationship. And so that can either be a de facto or married relationship with an Australian citizen, permanent resident, or eligible New Zealand citizen. So what that means is that the relationship that you're in, it must be genuine. So we must be able to show or demonstrate to the department that you are in this relationship for the right reasons, the length of time you've been in that relationship, and that it's continuing, so that foreseeable future you are together indefinitely. And to demonstrate that, you'll provide evidence of your genuine and continuing relationship. So the sorts of things that we would look at is when you first met, how did your relationship develop? When did you move in together? Do you have joint lease? So we'll look at the joint accommodation documents you have, your joint bank accounts together to show you've got a financial commitment to each other, any social events that you've gone together, messages exchanges if you've been apart for some time, etc. If you're married, you need to provide a copy of your marriage certificate, and it needs to be valid under Australian law. Those that are in a customary sort of relationship where it's not a legal marriage, you would fall into the de facto spouse category. And so a de facto partnership is those who live in a relationship together as civil partners, but you're not legally married. You must live together, or you must not live apart more than on a temporary basis. So that means you must live at the same address. If someone lives away for work, for example, that's fine, but you would need to show the ongoing communication between yourselves and that you do spend time together wherever possible. If you're in a de facto relationship, you must have been in that relationship with your partner for at least 12 months prior to lodging your application, unless there are compelling or compassionate circumstances. Where that would not be the case, where you do not need to demonstrate the 12 months, is if you in a state in Australia that has the ability to register that relationship. For example, we are in the state of Victoria, and under our state laws, we're able to register a relationship with the Department of Births, Death and Marriages that states that you are in a de facto relationship with a particular person, and that is deemed to be a legally binding document and is accepted by the Department of Home Affairs as evidence of your genuine and continuing relationship. So it's akin to a marriage certificate for the purpose of this exercise here. An important factor is that you and your sponsor must be aged 18 years or over. The visa applicant must meet the health criteria, so you'll attend a medical. You must meet the character requirements, so you must be able to provide national police clearances from any country you've lived in for 12 months or more in the last 10 years. And you mustn't have any debts to the Australian government. So you can't have been a student, for example, and had government debts or copious amounts of parking tickets or anything of that nature.
How about showing evidence of the relationship?
Hmm?
What's the usual format for that? Do you
Sure.
just provide like a scrapbook of your relationship, or is it like a PowerPoint presentation?
Well, a scrapbook is lovely, but no, we can't send that through. So the relationship evidence is viewed into 4 different categories. So we look at 4 factors. We look at the financial commitment that you have with each other. We look at the social commitment that is there. We look at the actual emotional commitment that you have as a partner, and finally your household. So we will separate those into the 4 factors, and we'll ask you to provide evidence of those to us. So example would be for financial, we would
Joint bank
like you to
account?
have a joint bank account. Now I know that's not common for everyone, and you're not expected to open a joint bank account if this is not something that you want to do. But it is the easiest way to show a financial commitment is to have a joint bank account that you might use just for your savings, or you might use it for your everyday expenses. So it does need to be transactional. You need to be able to evidence that you use that account together to pay for things. That can't just be a shelf account that you put, $200 into and you never look at it ever again. The other way to show financial commitment would be things such as assets that you've bought together, a vehicle that you purchase where you're both on that agreement, that loan, or a mortgage if you've bought a property together. From a household perspective, we would look at things such as utility bills where both of your names and your address is on that, mail that's been sent to your property, either in joint names or in individual names. That just shows that you're living at the same address. And the big one, of course, would be a joint lease agreement, which shows a legal binding agreement to live in the same property together. From a commitment perspective, you've got things such as a marriage certificate. You also have the de facto relationship certificate if you've registered that relationship. Some people may provide a will or life insurance policies where they've named each other as beneficiaries. Those things sort of show that extra level of commitment to each other. Lastly is the social, and that's the one that most couples probably find the easiest because it's things that you do together. So it's a PowerPoint. Probably don't need to present yourself as a PowerPoint presentation, but we do like to see a collage of photos, a timeline of photos. So from the time you met each other through to sort of present day, just a snapshot of your life in photos with each other, with your families, with your friends, and sort of with just a caption underneath. So explaining who's in those photos and the date that those photos were taken. Other things is joint travel. So if you've gone on holidays together, that's flight tickets that showing you both going to the same destination, hotel bookings where you're both listed, things like that.
We have a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So first question, how about if the sponsor has debts like university loan?
Okay, so that's fine. It's not uncommon to have a university loan. We would just actually enter that into their sponsorship form, and you would put down that they have a help debt, for example, the amount that's owing on it. And normally they get a statement from the tax office or the university, and we just provide a copy of that. That's not been an issue to date.
So as long as it's not a debt with the Australian government, like for example, if it's an unpaid hospital bill, it won't impact the
No, and
application.
again, this is for the sponsor. So the no debts with the Australian government is for the visa applicant. So the sponsor themselves are already an Australian citizen or permanent resident. If they had a debt to the government, being a university debt, that's fine because this is not a requirement for sponsorship.
Next question, if your entire relationship has been throughout COVID lockdowns,
Mm.
social evidence is pretty minimal given inability to socialize. How will this impact evidence requirement? Is there any leniency?
Sure. So if you're able to present to meet the rest of those 4 factors quite strongly, and there's minimal ability to socialize, we're obviously aware that you're not able to go out and see friends and family. Yes, I guess there is some leniency taken into consideration there. What I would suggest is that, which I've seen with other clients, is that we've had screenshots of people doing
Zoom call?
Zoom calls with their friends or Zoom parties. And I even had one, I think they attended a Zoom wedding. So is other ways to present the evidence. We would normally check through what it is that you have and be able to provide suggestions once we've seen the caliber of what you have on file yourself. Okay, so once you have your 820 visa, what happens from there? So the subclass 801 is the permanent visa. At the time you apply for your partner visa, it is deemed to be a dual application. So effectively, you will apply for your temporary visa and your permanent visa at the same time. However, you're not assessed for permanent residency until at least 2 years has passed from the anniversary of when we first lodged your application. So you will sit on your temporary visa until such time as your 2-year anniversary comes up, at which time the department generally send a notice saying, hey, you're ready for your assessment for your permanent visa, and then we'll get in contact with you and start that process with you again. What happens at that point is that you again need to be able to demonstrate that since the grant of your temporary visa, you've continued to live in that relationship with your partner, you're still together and you're still in an ongoing and genuine relationship.
So when you apply for an, do you actually apply for this or you just get a notification that it's
Okay,
been two
so
years?
it is an application. So it is a similar process in that there will be visa application forms. You'll also present updated evidence of your relationship. So it mirrors the first application very much so, in that you still are required to complete application form, have evidence of your relationship to provide, meet character requirements, still not have any debts to the Australian government, and still continue to live with each other as a couple.
So it's like a relationship check that
It
after two
is,
years that
yes,
you're
correct.
definitely
Yeah,
together
yeah,
genuinely.
yeah. So after 2 years, they like to just check in, make sure that everyone's still okay. And then at the end of that process, the visa applicant will be granted a permanent visa.